So good, friends, on this Sunday of the sixth day of Christmas. And you know, I think sometimes that we in the church have fallen into the practice of the consumer world. You know, we have this huge build-up that we call Advent and prepare. We have the one day along with Christmas Eve, and we try to crush everything into that. And then we think from Boxing Day onward, well, there's more shopping, but it can also be kind of relaxing. I want to suggest to you that the church has a different rhythm. Our faith has a different rhythm. In Advent, we've lit the candles and we've talked about hope and peace and joy and love, and we've made that a nice ritual. And then we put it away as if, okay, we did that very nicely, and now onward to other things. Well, the purpose of having the 12 days of Christmas is that we get the habit of practicing having hope, practicing making peace, living peace, that we practice being joyful, that we practice acting out of love. These are big things. If we think it's just a ritual or candles, and the kids love the pink candles, and I'm sure you all do too, and the pink candle, but it's just an empty ritual if we don't see that from the time we again welcome and acknowledge that there's been a birth of God into the world, if we don't then practice sharing that light, living that hope, being that message, then we're just kind of an empty gong. And that's been one of the criticisms that's often made against the church, that we do these things and then we say, oh, right then, we had a good Christmas season or a good Advent season or whatever season it is, and we're done with it. But the preparing of Advent turns into the practice of Christmas. And remember that poem by Howard Thurman, "Now the work of Christmas begins"? When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. As we stand on the threshold of a new year, which by all predictions is going to have even more chaos and unsettledness in it, and the old traditional ways of political diplomacy seem not to work as effectively, and we see our world again being kind of splintered into camps and various powers, and a kind of absence of a vision that countries can move into and embrace. And the accords that once felt quite strong are crumbling. We have essential work to do. People are going to need to know, how do you find hope in scary times? How do we be peacemakers? Yes, starting with ourselves, but not only with ourselves. Out in the increasingly diverse communities. You get the picture, right? I think that there is an essential role for churches to practice the spiritual principles upon which we are founded, and to not let anything that we do be an empty ritual. If it's empty, let's let it go. But if it is worth filling, then let us fill it. It's going to call forth from us a kind of boots on the ground practice that in easier, gentler times we might not have to do as much. But in this time, with such movement of populations, there's work for us to do. There's some changes that are going to happen in the congregation, and let me just name two. I introduced Mary Lou. You know what? We had said when we started that we were going to give children's ministry 3 years. And if we weren't able to renew children's ministry and start the rebuilding and the re-energizing, we were going to stop doing it and say to the families, both Oak and Cadborough Bay have excellent programs, and you deserve an excellent program. And we were actually ready to say that. And then, this summer, starting with the summer camp, starting with the Parents and Tots program, starting with a renewed children's choir, suddenly there was energy. Suddenly, this was beginning to be an okay place to be. And so we're staffing children's ministry, not just with university students who have helped us along, but with somebody who's part of this. That's a change for us. It's a development. The second, the music program. And we've done the music program in a interesting way, and for some people an unsettling way, and for some people an adventurous way. But for 2 months we had Adam Kahn with us. And he kind of started the kind of reigniting the choirs. And then we've been lucky enough to have Mary and Julian with us for November and December. A great job. And what you've done is moved us from the reigniting of the choir program into kind of a blended program. But both groups primarily focused on the choral program. In January, Gordon Miller comes. And he will, of course, work with the choirs, but he will also work with the congregation. It's kind of neat, isn't it, if you say, well, only the choir has to change. Not. You know, somebody said to me that they were a creature of habit. But you know what? Like Gordon's piece of this transition is going to be to help the congregation become the choir. And that's going to mean some changes for you. Do you notice the spaces that you have in your congregation? Now, this is akin to somebody saying to Mary Kennedy, well, I want to be in the choir, but actually my favorite place to stand is over here. And so when I'm in the choir, I'm going to stand over here. And somebody else saying, well, I really like to lean back here, so I'll be an alto and the rest of the altos can be over there, but I kind of lean here. Now, you know Mary Kennedy much better than I do, but I think she would soon be apoplectic. She would hardly know how to begin to say. If you're going to be a choir, you have to be able to hear each other. You have to stand in your sections. Now, we're not going to put the congregation into sections, but we are going to urge you to move forward, to sit together, to be a community that takes seriously that you are singing the song of faith as a corporate community. And we want it to be as strong and as resonant as it can be. Those are little internal changes that we're making. Think about what the community needs us to be about. So this is going to be a year of change, of practicing what I preach and what we say we believe. So, rest in this Christmas tide. Because when January comes, boots on the ground, flexibility, but all because of the greater commitment we have to be the good news that we can be and that God calls us to be in the world in which we live. I've gone on too long, but I'm going to stop now. Thanks be to God. Now we've